Hello, Crewbox members. This is Chelsea Bell here. I'm the leader of Crewbox and also the events and marketing director at Gordon's Wine. We're looking forward to sharing a little more background today about our August Crewbox, which is another producer spotlight. As you might have recalled, for those who were signed up with us last month in July, we focused on the wines from Guasol in Burgundy. So this month we're heading to Spain and we're heading to the Penedes region up in the kind of northeastern part of Spain in a kind of subregion called Emporda. So this is north of Barcelona and just south of the southwestern border of France, and a really unique area that's very well known for being quite rustic and has wines that really speak to a sense of place. The wines that we'll feature today are made by winemaker Anna Espelt. Three wines are from a project that she created named after herself, Anna Espelt Wines. And then the fourth wine today, which I'll speak about, is from her family's winery. This is a producer, Espelt Viticultors, that Eric Salman, a famous importer that we do a lot of work with, he owns an import company called European Cellars and started working with the Espelt family back in 2005, where Anna was making the wines for her family. This is a winemaking estate, which is in the subregion or DO called Emporda, which is within the Penedes. And Anna grew up with her family winery, but she had studied habitat restoration and organic farming. And she'd always sought to bring her values more in line with the farming practices at her family's larger estate. So their family estate is around 200 hectares, which isn't large, but not small. Definitely a lot smaller than a lot of kind of more mass production wineries. And while managing her family's operation, she began pursuing something that was a little more personal to her. It was a project focused on about 25 hectares of vineyards collectively called Mas Mares, which is located within an area called the Cap de Cruz. Cap de Cruz translates in Spanish to Cape of the Cross, and this is a nature reserve of the Penedes, which is quite remote, perfect place for a day hike. And when she was hiking in the area, she recognized the potential to revitalize some of the ailing vineyard sites in the area. She knew this place was special not only because of the amazing nature and the surroundings, but she also really noted the fact that human activity had been very present on this property for many, many centuries. So she felt that it was a really great location to kind of combine nature and human interaction in a very positive partnership. When kind of asked to describe the Cap Cruz, Anna always likes to talk about the fact that it's a land of granite, wind, blue skies, and the smell of wild herbs and sea spray. The vines really have been an integral part of this landscape, and they're really shaped by the things that surround it, in equal parts by nature and by human hands. With Anna's dedication to organic and regenerative farming, these vineyards have kind of been brought back into balance with the surrounding environment and the surrounding flora and fauna. And she's been able to really pay tribute to the thousands of years of interaction between her ancestors and this land that they respect so much. For this project that she works on, Anna Espelt Wines, she focuses on some grapes that you might not have heard of before, but they actually are grapes that you've definitely tried. So she works with Picapola, Loudaner Blanc, Loudaner Roig, Loudaner Negre. They're actually just the local names for Claret, Garnacha Blanca, Garnacha Roja or Gris, and Garnacha Negra. So you'll find Claret usually as a blending varietal. It's kind of more rare to find it on its own in many kind of southeastern and Rhone-based blends for a white grape. And then Grenache Blanc and Grenache Gris and Rouge are used all throughout the Rhone, Provence, and parts of southwestern France, such as the Languedoc as well. So it's interesting to always find what synonyms other areas use for grapes, but actually a lot of these grapes, especially Grenache or Garnacha, is more indigenous to Spain and has been known for being planted in the region for very long periods of time. She chose these varietals because they were best adapted to the sandy granite soils of the area, and they show resilience to the nearly constant wind that whips through the Cap Cruz, and they perfectly really can express the minerality and salinity of the area. These vineyards are intermixed with oak trees and pastures and wild herbs, and her farming is certified organic, and everything she does is harvested by hand. So without further ado, let's get into the wines and learn a little more about them. For our first wine today, we have the Pla de Tudela 2019 vintage. So this is 100% Pic Pola. And Pic Pola, once again, as I mentioned, is Claret. So once again, Claret isn't a grape that you might encounter all the time. I don't think before this ever had 100% Claret on its own. I think the name can be quite confusing because Picapola seems like it almost implies the variety is Picpoul, which is a traditional grape of southwestern France in the Languedoc, Picpoul de Pigny. But recent research has really indicated that it's most likely Claret or variety very closely related. And it's been in this part of Spain long enough to have really acquired this misleading name. So it's prized for its ability to retain beautiful acidity, even in very warm climate. And it's really ideally suited to the Mas Marais, as it's very close to the sea and really reflects the innate minerality in the wine. Something really cool about this is she hand harvests the fruit. There's natural yeast fermentation here, and she ages for 9 months in cement eggs. So cement, once again, is going to be an alternative to stainless steel. It lets the grapes' kind of natural personality shine through, but also it involves a little bit more microoxygenation in the wine, and it, in my opinion, creates wines that have really beautiful stability. So I hope you guys enjoy. I think it's quite delicious. I had actually recommended to pair this with a Catalan fish stew, but definitely for all of the summer delights, I think it'll be a lot of fun for you to enjoy. Our second wine, also from the Anna Espelt project, is the Pla de Gats Blanc 2021 vintage. So this is going to be a blend of Loudaner Blanc and Roig, so Grenache or Garnacha Blanc in Gris, that she grows in the Mas Marais vineyard as well. Having gained experience with these varieties further inland, where the climate was warmer, where her family's winery is, she discovered that they really shine closer to the sea, where the nearly constant winds result in these smaller clusters with berries have thicker skins and really fresh acidity. Pla de Gats is cooled overnight after harvesting by hand and partially destemmed, and sees a very short maceration before pressing to capture all the aromatic and phenolic potential of these varieties. And you'll notice too that this is also natural yeast fermentation and aged for 6 months in the cement eggs as well. So she's a fan of that, especially for her whites. For a pairing here, I'd recommended it with a tortilla española, which is going to be kind of the traditional Spanish tortilla made with potato, egg, and all the magical other accompaniments that can be just super delicious. So I think you'll enjoy that too. As we get into our red wines, we have the 2019 Pla de Gats Negre, which is going to be getting into 100% Loudaner Negre, which is the local name for Garnacha in this part of Catalonia. The Pla de Gats showcases this new school style of Garnacha, which is becoming more popular in Spain. They're focusing on a style of Garnacha that is almost a little bit more Pinot-like. Sometimes Grenache or Garnacha can retain really high levels of alcohol and can tend to be really intense and powerful. There's a new style that you're seeing that's kind of much more delicate and a little bit more nuanced, leaner, brighter, not as much focused on the intense alcohol and powerful fruit. So I think this is a nice example of that. It's sourced entirely from the fruit that she grows. Anna grows in these granite soils in her vineyard, organically farmed. And this exposure to these constant winds ensures a really vibrant style of Garnacha, which has some beautiful like fresh berry fruits and herbs, and this beautiful minerality and a little salinity in the finish. So super, super yummy. I recommended this with the chicken with Catalan picada, which I think will be a perfect combo. Last but not least, we have the Espelt 2019 Garnacha Negra. So this is actually a wine from her family vineyards as opposed to her vineyards. So she still oversees all this production, but I thought it might be kind of interesting to integrate in one of the wines from her family winery. So this Garnacha Negra from the Espelt winery comes from higher elevation vineyards, which are tucked away in another nature reserve a little more inland called the Alberis. They are some of the oldest vines on the property with Garnacha Negra, and sometimes they'll also have some small plantings of Carignana. To my knowledge, this is 100% Garnacha Negra, but sometimes a little Carignana can sneak in there. And they grow on sandy soils and granite-based soils as well. And while there are many, once again, inexpensive Garnachas that come from Spain, this wine has much more depth, minerality, and complexity found in this old vine cuvee, and it's aged in French oak barrels for about 3 months to give it a little more edge. I'd recommended to do this with some pinto ribs with a sherry glaze. So definitely grilling wines, as this has a little bit more flavor and structure from the old wines, I think will be quite wonderful. Once again, I hope that everybody gets to enjoy these wines. It'd be nice if you can kind of experience them side by side or with friends, as these might have been grapes that you haven't gotten to taste before, or a producer that's new to you, as it's relatively new to us. So we're really excited to hear some of your feedback, and we hope, as always, you really enjoy the wines and get to experience the beauty of the wines of Anna Espelt, and that you enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of this beautiful weather.